Hello lovely, and welcome to this short instructional video which has been designed to help you release your vagus nerve. As ever, do what's right for you. Please don't have a full tummy, best not to have eaten for a couple of hours. And if your womb is full, if you've got if you're menstruating or you've got an intrauterine device, don't do any strong breathing. We're not going to do strong breathing, but I'm just saying generally, just be careful that you're not pulling your belly in too far. It's not a good idea. So I've made a nest, a bit of a nest, a couple of cushions you need to get handy, and for the end you'll need a blanket. I'll just demonstrate the end part, but you can stay in Shavasana or luxury Shavasana as long as you want to. So I've designed this to help us all really get this vagus nerve which travels into the pelvis from the back of the cranium, and it impacts so many things. But essentially all we really want to know at the moment is that the more that we can encourage this highly sensitive nerve, so it's more a sensory set of nerves than an electromagnetic one. So whereas in the spinal column we've got this you could say masculine energy emanating, the vagus nerve is sensing the environment. 95% is sensory nerve. So we're going to soothe it. That's a really important thing. And one thing I've learned is that the vagus nerve releases from the face down. So we're going to start with our faces. I've just organised my nest to make life easy for me, and I've put a couple of cushions underneath my thighs. I don't have to, but I don't want to bring any tension into my body. And I'm sitting in a soft cross-legged position. And the next thing I do, and I always do this, I reach around and I grab the chub, I grab the flesh, and I take it backwards to expose the two little bones in the back of my pelvis, the tuberal ischiotomies. And I just want to wiggle on them a couple of times, just to remind my brain where either side is. So these are helping me to form an idea of energy running left and right down through my body. And with that idea of a frame, if you like, going down through the body, left and right, and then a center line coming down here. Let's just sit together for a moment. It doesn't really matter what you do with your hands at this point. I would recommend, if you want to soothe, you just let the palms go down. And we're just going to release the shoulders gently. And we're going to start to function with our breath. So we want to notice the sound of ourselves breathing. That's all we want to do. And as you start to listen to the sound of your breath, just very slightly raise the corners of your mouth. And I'm not being facetious, but a smile is always nice, but it will help. And one of the things that helps us to release this nerve is slowing the out-breath. So we make the out-breath a little bit longer than the in-breath. And I don't recommend you do this every breath. It can be too unbalancing. But let's just say you listen to your next in-breath. And you notice that it takes you a beat of 3 seconds, 2 or 4, it doesn't matter. You just get an idea of how long it's taking you to breathe in, nice and deep and slow, so that the breath comes to your belly. And when you have that number firmly in mind, add 1 onto it, so that next time you exhale, your exhale is the new slightly bigger number. Some of you practice regularly, you might want to increase the exhale to a count of 2 or even more, using the abdominal muscles, pulling the belly in. But as I say, if you've got a UD or you've got blood, menstrual blood that needs to go, just be gentle with that. So let's just do that a couple of times quietly together. So you breathe in and you let your belly soften and expand. And you breathe out through your nose slowly. Just with that slightly longer breath. A couple of normal breaths. And for those of you that want to practice Ujjayi breathing, I'm not going to go into it in this session. From time to time, this also slows the out breath and helps you release, or helps the nerve release. So we're going to start the next part of our practice now. So we're sitting, we've got those seat bones anchoring in, so imagine them just pushing gently into the soil, the way you push little spring bulbs into the soil. And just pick up your mid and index finger and bring them up to this point between the upper and the lower jaw. Some of you will notice the TMJ, temporomandibular joint. And with your mouth slightly open, let your tongue fall to the floor of your mouth and start to massage that point. You might get some sensation. If it hurts and it's not comfortable, please stop or don't press so hard. You don't have to press hard. You just need to be rhythmic and fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, rhythmic will do. So don't rush it, don't dig deep, don't try and find something. Just stay with a steady pace. And notice what that releases for you. And occasionally you'll feel the need to breathe out through your mouth. Do that. That's just a balancing of the carbon dioxide needs to happen. Okay. So very gently, we're just going to walk our hands down to our neck, just either side of the neck, and we're gently going to use our fingers and scratch down with the tips of the fingers, pausing just above the collarbones, pressing the fingertips in, just activating the little lymph ducts there. Stroking down the side of the neck. Feels nice. Fairly firm, warm strokes. Good. And just bring your hands away. And again, just let them rest down. See how you feel. Now, again, we're just going to do a little bit of gentle work for the neck and head. So the throat is an important place for us to release, but we need to be careful how we release the throat, because picking up your head, I'll go sideways, and just stretching your neck up sometimes squashes the cervical vertebra here. You see, my fingers are trapped. So when I stretch my neck, I also have to work to lift the occiput so I don't trap my fingers. I hope you can see the difference. I'm just slightly, so I might not be able to stretch my neck as far, but I am stretching the back of the neck at the same time. And that's enough, because we don't want to create damage and tension here. So what we're going to do with that in mind is we're just going to lift the chin, and we're going to do something called Soothe grind. So I'll show you. It's different from another one called Chakrasana that you might have seen, because in Chakrasana, the breathing goes the opposite direction. In this one, Soothe grind, we're actually going to breathe in as we go forward. You see my neck is stretching, but I'm doing my best not to trap the back of my neck. So you have to really focus on lifting. It's a little sensitive, tiny movement, lifting the occiput as you go around. And as you come back, you exhale. As you come forward, you inhale. Okay, so when you're ready, you're going to join me for the Soothe grind. This is a really, really powerful one for releasing this nerve. So just take an inhale and an exhale. And once you've exhaled, you're going to go forward. Inhale and push the heart, the sternum and the throat forward. And you're going to exhale. Tucking the chin in slightly. Inhaling. Exhaling. Little squeeze of the tummy. Inhaling. You want to get the belly to brush the thighs. So massaging the intestines. And again, when you're on your own, you can pause the video and just do this for as long as feels good for you. It might differ from day to day. Remember, inhale here, where I would normally exhale my normal one. Exhale here, little squeeze. So I'm just holding that for a second, making sure my tummy muscles are working. Inhaling, stretching. So there's this. Find your own rhythm. Inhale, heart, throat, stretching. Let's just pause. And again, say when you do it on your own, as long as you like. We're going the other way now. So I'm going to inhale and exhale. And on my next need to inhale, I'm starting the other direction. Inhaling, exhaling. I tell you, those Sufis knew a thing or two. So become conscious of the seat bones now. You should feel those two little bumps in the back of your pelvis. You're rocking your weight from side to side. That whole attachment to the hamstrings is also getting a massage. Inhale, heart, throat, exhale. We'll do it one more time. I never count, I just feel it. Inhale. Come to a pause. Make sure you feel balanced left and right. And let's just do a little bit of seated cat-cow to move that energy. So we've spiraled the energy. Now we want to move it gently up the spine. So I'm going to come forward, inhaling it again, not taking the back of my head back, being careful always to imagine I've got like 2 fingers there, even one, as long as I'm not squishing. Exhale. This time I can bring my chin in, lift the back of my head, and really open that little hole in the back of my skull where all those cranial nerves exit. The one we're talking about is cranial nerve 10, the vagus. Slow your breathing, slow the exhale. Nothing's being rushed here. All about soothingness. Lift the heart, stretch the throat. Push the seat bones down. That helps you keep the back of the head off the shoulder. Let's just come back to seated. I'm going to have to take my chub out again. Okay. So from here, we're just going to do a soft twist. Twists are wonderful for soothing the vagal nerve. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to lift my left hand. I'm going to make it quite soft as I bring it over. And I'm going to place the palm of the hand on my right thigh. And take my right hand. I'm just gently going to place it at the base of my spine. I'm using my fingers to help me, so I can keep my spine relatively straight. Again, we're gentle. We're not going for a big hard twist, but remember, you twist from the abdomen first. So as I do that, it's my tummy button that I like to move around first. So the inhale charges my body with prana. The exhale is when I move. The head follows. Please do not lead with the head. Allow the head to come after everything else, as in life. Inhale, let the sternum lift. Exhale, move the belly and the sternum. We're just going to stay here. Maybe the head moves a little. We're not trying to crank it round and look down the shoulder or anything like that. You can have a bit of tension through the left palm against the right thigh, just to help hold the twist. A bit of tension, pushing my fingers down now into the ground. But the important thing is to find your edge. Don't get too much on your edge for this kind of practice. Just find the edge and then breathe into it. So we're after 2 more breaths here. As you inhale, push the seat bones down. Let the sternum rise. To release, just pick up the hands on the floor and softly bring everything back. Shimmy those shoulders. Let's repeat on the other side. So soft movement up with the right arm. Left hand goes right behind me, fingers on the ground, and then I can bring the right palm to the left thigh. I like to start a little bit central so that I know that I'm twisting from my abs. So I'm going to inhale now, and I'm exhaling, abs leading. Have to teach your belly to lead because the head wants to, head follows. Next time you'll feel that breath. It gets a bit harder to breathe into the belly, but keep at it. We're using the diaphragm. It's super important, always, but particularly in this practice. Keep the weight travelling equally between those seat bones as best you can. Come into, I'm going to call it the extremity of this position. I just mean for today, how far you want to go. You're not trying to get all the way around. You just want to settle into a position where you've got enough tension through the hands without getting uncomfortable to let the twist flow through you. I'm not trying to take the twist anywhere. Just use your breath now. Let the twist move through you. I'm enjoying this. Release your left hand. Bring it up, bring it round. Again, let's shimmy the shoulders. Settle the seat bones, and we're just going to fold forward for a moment. Let me make sure you can see me. Again, very soft, very easy. I'm just going to bring my hands together, tuck my chin in, keeping my seat bones moving towards the ground. I'm just going to settle here for a couple of breaths. I'll tell you when to come up, so just ease into the pose yourself. Find time to breathe into your back. So imagine the space in your lungs being the back of the lung. Imagine that it needs inflating, it needs a shot of energy. Because it's quite hard to breathe into your tummy from here, right? So use this time to expand your back. We're going to put our hands on the ground, palms down, to walk ourselves back to seated. And we're just going to do one more thing while we're still in this seated position. I want you to inhale and take your hands up to the side. Push the fingers into the air and turn your palms behind you. Keep the seat bones nicely tucked into the ground and the sternum and the heart lifted. Then start to direct your hands and your shoulder blades. So the shoulder blades are squeezing, the hands are going to meet each other in a moment. You're going to blend the fingers together, and you're going to just squeeze the hands together with the fingers woven, and I'm going to whiz round to my side so you can see, and you're going to lift the hands very gently. So if I was looking at you, I'd see this. Shoulder blades in, chin tucked in just a little below level, shoulder blades down, and you're just going to sit for a moment, inhaling, and when you exhale, gently squeeze the shoulder blades together. It doesn't have to be big. Push the seat bones down and let your heart lift. You want to open here between this spot. This is a difficult spot to get to, the thoracic. So these gentle squeezings on the exhale. Making conscious of lifting the heart, having your heart open, your belly soft, because when you inhale, there should be softness in the belly. Gently allow the hands to settle. And once they're touching your body or your cushion or whatever, then bring the fingers away. Shake the hands. Give a good little shake and just moving. And then when you're good and ready, you're going to just move the cushions away from you for a moment. We're just going to come over onto all fours. So, from all fours, of course, we've done a fair bit of spinal movement in cat-cow, but feel welcome just to take a moment to tune into that. Make sure that the knee joint is underneath the hip joint. And I like to work with my toes turned under, because this keeps the fascia stretched, which again helps this whole system that we're working on. And one of the things I like to do is take my hips back, bend my toes, and then bounce off my toes and come forward a little bit. You'll notice as I do this, you might notice that I always work with the head of my humerus externally rotated, which is a fancy way of saying this bone here, I want it to rotate outwards a little. And you see the crease of my elbow towards you. This helps me to lock down certain small muscles in the shoulders and takes pressure out of the main shoulder joint. Well, there are three actually. So just consider when you're working like this, that the eye of your elbow is towards the front of the mat and you're grounding through the base of your thumb. So there's pressure through the base of the thumb as well as sending that pressure through the other fingers. Your toes are turned under. And we're just going to play. We're just going to swing our bottom back and then jet forward from those toes. So the feet are getting a stretch already. And come to a little pause. And again, we're going to circle the hips. So a little bit like a Soothe grind. I'm looking at you, but don't look at me once you've got it, because I'd like you just to keep the chin very slightly tucked in. Don't want you to drop the head, but just keep the head neutral and the chin tucked in. So it should be straight here. And be big, be bold. Use your bottom, buttocks, bum, all of them, as though you were painting a wall behind you. You wanted these big, bold circles of colour. As you come forward, you'll notice, of course, you get that uplift. So be gentle with that uplift unless you're used to practicing and you've got an empty womb, those of you with a womb. Nice big circles going both ways, generating spiral power. And then come to a nice pause. And from here, we're going to go into melting heart. You might need a cushion. Let me demonstrate if you don't know this pose. You might not need a cushion, but they're handy things to have around. From melting heart, I'm going to keep my tummy muscles toned enough to keep my belly in the air and my hips over my knee. And I'm going to start now walking my hands forward. And I want to get my forehead and eventually my heart on the mat. So I'm going to have a little walk forward. Can you still see me? You should be able to see me. Forehead will come to the mat for me quite comfortably. If it doesn't, put a cushion under your forehead. Those of you who work with this pose, you know it takes a little bit of time to trust because we actually have to start to release under the shoulder to let the heart come down. Those of you who work a lot with it might be able to get the chin on the floor, but don't push it. And again, once you come into the pose, take your time. Remember, we start on all fours. If you need to reprise, we keep some tone here because this doesn't all come forward with us. We're going to do something different with that. We're going to walk the hands forward, keeping the tummy toned, sinking down, forehead, or if you're practiced at it, chin, and we wait. We use our breath in our back. And as we exhale, we notice how we're holding our heart up. Back. And we just let gravity help us, guys. Patience and gravity. We're very close to the ground. Nothing bad can happen to you. Unless it's hurting. In that case, prop with pillows under your forehead. Okay, lovelies. It can be quite a tough one to come out of. So we are going to use our gravity here to come into cobra, soft cobra. So simply keep your hands ahead of you and push away so that your belly will come to the ground. Got my foot trapped under something, I didn't think about that. Once your belly's on the ground, slide your hands back. And we're not going to do like the big cobra. We're not going to Bhujangasana full. What I recommend for this kind of practice is a modification that I don't know if anybody else uses it. I've certainly found intuitively this works. So I'm going to take opposite hands to opposite elbows, remembering the point of the elbow needs to be correctly aligned under the point of the shoulder. And this will help us to stay in that alignment. Matters right. I'm just going to boot this stool out of the way. I thought it looked quite nice. I've forgotten that I might actually. Oops. Okay, it's out of the way. For me, and I think particularly for women, we need to just let our butt cheeks be really soft and our feet be wide. So let the heels flop out and then find your pubic bone. Just in your mind's eye, find that pubic bone and start to anchor it down a little. Now see if you can do this. Push the pubic bone into the ground without creating tension in your butt. That's what you're going to do. And it's a little bit of a game, isn't it? We've got to really tune in finely to see where we're holding on. At the same time, I'm pushing the points of my elbows down, so I'm not slumping. I don't want this shoulder joint to start to get wrecked by having the humerus and all the rest of it sticking into the, muscles. Can't remember. Thinking something else. Rotator cuff. Thank you. Thank you. So keep that sense of the elbows pushing down and also the sternum lifting. Just imagine your heart. It wants to go flying. It wants to fly out of your rib cage and it wants to go forward. And these are tiny movements, micro movements, but as you feel that and you push the pubic bone down, now think about the front points of your pelvis and also anchor them a little bit. So your skeleton's taking a lot of the pressure out of this pose for you, or it should be. You can stretch your chin very, very gently. Not a bad idea. But again, be conscious that you're lifting the occiput. So this isn't happening. I see this all over the internet. Horrible, 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 horrible. You will not release your vagus nerve. You will, in fact, get wear and tear in everything from C1 all the way down to C3. So keep pushing down. Soften your butt. I know it feels weird. We talk to be tight. We talk to have, bounce pennies off our bum, all of that. I tell you, that does not contribute to human happiness. Not much, anyway, not in the long term. Okay, I've kept you here for quite a while. Now I want you to do something else. I want you to stick your tongue out. So this is a version of lion. I just throw it in here because it kind of works with my flow. But the tongue, releasing your vagus nerve should start with sticking your tongue out. I wonder if that's why we tell people not to do it. It's not rude. It's sensible. So 2 or 3 times. I don't know if you can see mine. It's quite long when I do that now. You're going to stick your tongue out in your own time. And you can make a roaring noise because I can't hear you. And really release that jaw. Okay, you're probably getting tired. And if you've been tired at any time and you've got a remote, please remember you can just stop this video and start when you need to. We're going to come into crocodile. So just wiggle yourself forward. You can keep your hands on opposite elbows. And I'm going to ask you now just to put your forehead on top of this little pile of forearms. And I want you to let the shoulders soften. And take that breath. Imagine there's a tube in your spine and you're sending your breath all the way down to the sacrum. Still soft. Still really, really soft. Five breaths there, everybody. And this time, focus also on, as you inhale, you feel your belly pushing into the ground. Let it be. Just let it expand as much as it wants to. Remember to let your face be soft. Open your jaw. No one can see you. Just need a little gap between the upper and the lower teeth. You want to feel that your tongue can move to the floor of your mouth. Okay, we're going to start to peel our way out of here now. So release the hands, let them go from the elbows, place the palms on the ground, and very slowly push down through the palms, ground through the thumbs, suck your tummy up, and we're just going to come up on our knees for a moment. And I'm going to offer this as an option. Not everybody will want to do it, not everybody is ready to do it, but we're going to do a version of camel. Now, a good way to practice camel is to have a wall behind you so that you don't feel that you're going to fall backwards. I'm going to demonstrate without a wall, and then I want you to imagine the wall, because I'm going to take it to the wall in a moment, but just imagine the wall at this moment. So I've got my toes turned under. Optionally, you can have a cushion here so that you don't have to bend down so far. And those of you who practice regularly, you don't have to have your toes turned under. I'm going to start like that this morning. And we warm up. So I'm going to just pick up my right arm and I'm going to take it back and I'm going to look at my right heel and touch it. I'm just telling my brain, there's the heel. I'll do it on the other side. Hello. A little bit of tone on my tummy and I'm still lifting my sternum, not doing this. Just lifting sternum. So I've located those 2 points. This time, I don't have to do both hands together. I'm going to go back and I'm going to find those 2 points and I'm going to lift my pubic bone, I'm going to lift my sternum, and I'm going to lift my chin at the same time as keeping this gap. I'm going to just check back and make sure my heels are aligned to my knees, so nothing's out of alignment. I'm going to push down quite firmly through my hands into my heels so that I'm creating some tension here to help me lift. So this is camel. Now, I'm going to show you with a wall in a second. Some of you might even want to do rocking camel if you're comfortable. This is not a pose to do if you're bleeding, if you've got heart problems. It can be too intense. Coming out of it is something we have to be very strict and careful about. So to come out of it, I'm just going to pause the movement. I'm going to keep one hand firm and I'm going to gently push myself up. And when we decompress, we're going to counterpose in child. Okay, so I'll do that in a second, just a quick one, and I'll show you how I use a firm surface. In my case, a door. Avoid the handle, because when I practiced it the other day, I went to that edge of the wall, which wasn't the door, which wasn't a good idea. So all the sense is here is that you get your toes into the wall or the door. You get the flat of your feet towards it, and now you feel quite secure. You don't feel as though you could slip or fall away. You take the pose. I do recommend doing this. It's just tidier for the rotator cuffs. And as you come back, you just feel your head against the door. Now, I'm not pressing my head in. I'm not using the door or the wall to help me cop out of the pose. I've still got to use muscle strength. But the fact that it's there reminds me that I feel safe. My feet and my head are touching the wall and I can work into this pose. You can also do it against a sofa or anything that's the right height for you. Coming out, intense. We're going to go into child. So nice big wide child, everybody. Toes touching if you want to, or you can be more frog-like and keep them apart. Settling your hips down, taking yourself forward. 5 big breaths. I'm going to leave you there to have 5 big breaths. In peace, and again, cushions are lovely. If your hips don't go down, you can pop a cushion there. If you just want to see what it's like, a cushion under your forehead. Let everything go. Stay down there. Breathe into your back. Let the belly get really soft. This is important. Take your time. When you're ready to come up, always work the palms onto the ground and walk them forward, squeezing the abs slightly so we help ourselves to come up to seated. Any seat at the moment. Quite nice just to pop a cushion right under the edge, not under your bottom, but under the edge of the pelvis to help the hips relax and come down the hip area. There isn't actually a hip. So the hip, it starts from here and goes to about there. That's just where the femur goes in. So I'm going to recommend 2 more things to finish this little sequence. And the first one is a tummy massage. So we're going to place the flat of our hand, and again, be gentle with yourself. We're going to place the flat of the hand on the right side of the groin, just above the groin. And we're going to move it up, so ascending colon, transverse colon, going across, down, descending colon. So I'm bringing my other hand on top of it now. I'm going to start with quite big movements. So I'm hoping to massage the whole of my intestine, bringing in a clockwise position. Again, don't do this if you've got loads of food in your tummy. This one will speed up digestion just a little because we're going in the direction of the outflow. Okay, and then make the movement a bit smaller. So we come just circle around the belly button. Just sit with your hands over your belly button. And breathe. Breathe into your hands. And gently take the hands away because it feels quite nice and warm, and rub your kidneys. So get the hands over the back. I use the backs of my hands for this. I get more pressure into our jing area. Good warm rub into those kidneys. Yeah. Get that jing energy moving. And then knock up and down the back just a little. So around the sacrum, up and down. And then come around and just make circles around the hip area. Tapping gently into the groin. Let the hands rest. Give me a smile. We're nearly done. So options now, so I'm going to just demo one, is to get those cushions and that blanket and make yourself a nest. You may use as many cushions as you want here, of course. I'm going to have an extra cushion for my head. I'm going to support onto my thighs. I'm going to put myself into Supta Baddha Konasana. Now, so this is option one of my favourites, soles of the feet together. You can have something under your chest if you want to keep the sternum lifted, but the goal really is to keep the chin slightly tucked in, so we have this opening down the back of the neck. And for me, that takes a bit of fiddling around. It's nice to choose how your arms are, depending on your mood. I feel very open-hearted today. I want to cuddle the world, so my arms are wide. There are some days when I feel I need more energy, more protection for myself, and I'll bring my hands to my belly, or maybe one on heart, one on belly. There shouldn't be any stress in your arms. You might need cushions under there. And you, my lovely friend, are going to stay here for at least 3 or 4 minutes. Now, if there's a danger you'll drift off to sleep, I recommend next time you get an alarm, because strictly speaking, I'm supposed to be with you and bringing you out safely. But I can't do that. Not without getting your phone number and ringing you every time you do it. So for me, just make sure that if you're going to go to sleep, you know you can wake up. You know somebody's going to wake you up, or your alarm's going to wake you up, because the day could drift past. So you're going to get yourself down here. And for those of you that are waiting to see another option, I just simply love to use my little stool or a sofa or anything that allows me to get the crook of my knee tucked in like that. And it's a very similar thing. Bottom fairly close. And again, let's use cushions creatively. They are fabulous. You don't need loads of fancy, expensive yoga props. In fact, these things tend to work better, different thicknesses. And here's an option where you can just have the arms supported. You can snuggle something around you. And just this is nice for relaxing the low back. Get into your nest. Get your blanket over you. And breathe into your belly. So I'm going to take 2 more breaths before I sit up, but you don't have to. Just a word about coming out of the poses. If my knees are up like this, I will carefully bring one knee in and then the other. So I've used a bit of abdominal strength to do that. Don't bring them in together. Have a little hug, a little bit of round the world. Keep row the boat. Is really nice. And when you're ready, carefully take yourself over. Use the hands to come up. If you're in Supta Baddha Konasana, then I always recommend you come out slowly again. But I would always say to somebody, use the flat of your hand to lift the leg into place. It's a lot of weight to take that leg up. Bring the other one in. And again, your option, maybe rolling the knees around, soft circles. Definitely do a little bit of row the boat. Even some happy baby. Yay, we love happy babies. Remember to put a little bit of pressure through the center of the foot. So I'm pushing up and I'm pulling down with my hand. And also my forearms, my calf bones are pushing against each other. Nice way to come out. So that's it. That's my offering for vagus nerve release. I'm sure you'll find things that you want to add into that, but use it as feels good for you and say, I've gone through it at a bit of a lick. There may be some bits where you want to stay, so use technology to do that. And for now, huge love, namaste, be well. May all sentient beings be well. I hope this brings you benefit.